Saving money in your 30s feels impossible because this is the decade when effort quietly stops being enough. You were told stability would arrive once experience caught up with ambition, that better income would smooth things out, that saving would eventually feel automatic instead of stressful. Yet here you are, watching money arrive and disappear with unsettling speed, wondering how progress can feel so distant when nothing appears obviously wrong. Payday still brings a brief sense of relief. For a moment, everything feels under control. There's space to breathe, then the days move forward. Bills surface one by one. Obligations line up without urgency, but without mercy. By the second week, the balance no longer feels generous. By the end of the month, the same question returns quietly. Where did it go? The cycle repeats so often that it begins to feel normal. Not alarming, just confusing. You are not reckless. You are not ignoring reality. You are doing what responsible adults are supposed to do. Yet, the numbers never reflect the effort. That disconnect creates doubt. Not loud panic, but a constant low-level uncertainty that never fully shuts off. And because nothing looks broken from the outside, the blame turns inward. Maybe you should track more closely. Maybe you missed something obvious. Maybe everyone else simply figured it out faster. That quiet self-questioning is where frustration settles in and stays. At first, the frustration feels personal. You know you are more responsible than you used to be. You pause before spending. You plan ahead. You earn more than you once did. And yet the savings account barely moves. That gap between effort and outcome creates a subtle anxiety. If this stage of life was supposed to feel secure, why does it still feel so fragile? The answer begins with a shift no one warns you about. Your 30s are when flexibility quietly disappears. In earlier years, spending could expand or contract depending on circumstances. Now money becomes assigned the moment it arrives. Housing costs solidify into long-term commitments. Insurance becomes non-negotiable. Healthcare demands attention. Family responsibilities appear. Debt payments stop feeling temporary and start feeling permanent. These choices are not mistakes. They are signs of adulthood, but together, they reshape your financial reality. Most of your income is already spoken for before you ever touch it. Saving becomes something that must compete for leftovers in a system where leftovers barely exist. This is why advice like, just budget better, feels hollow. You are not careless. You are constrained. Budgeting assumes freedom to move money around. In your 30s, that freedom has already been traded for stability. The tension you feel is not because you are doing something wrong. It is because the structure changed without warning. What makes this transition so difficult is how quietly it happens. One decision at a time. Each one reasonable. Each one framed as progress. You do not feel restricted when they occur. You feel responsible. But over time, those decisions harden into a structure that does not bend. The flexibility to pause spending, delay purchases, or recover quickly disappears. Money no longer responds to short-term choices, it responds to long-term agreements. That is why quick fixes feel useless. Skipping small expenses cannot undo obligations designed to last years. This is the part no one explains. Stability has a cost, and that cost is optionality. Once money becomes predictable, it also becomes less forgiving. Understanding this does not solve the problem instantly, but it removes the illusion that effort alone should be enough. Then comes the emotional weight of this decade. The pressure to be on track grows louder. Timelines fill with milestones. Promotions, homes, vacations, children. Even if your life is steady, comparison slips in quietly. It suggests everyone else is advancing while you are standing still. That pressure reshapes behavior in subtle ways. Spending becomes a way to soften uncertainty. Convenience feels justified. Small upgrades feel earned. None of these choices look reckless. Each one makes sense on its own. But together, they quietly drain momentum. Money disappears not in dramatic bursts, but through steady, invisible leaks. There is also a strange contradiction at play. From the outside, your life may look fine. Bills are paid. Nothing is overdue. You are not in crisis. Yet internally, it feels like motion without progress. That gap between appearance and emotion is exhausting. Because the pressure is quiet, it rarely gets addressed directly. Instead, it seeps into decisions. Small comforts feel necessary. Convenience feels essential. Spending becomes less about desire and more about relief. It is not indulgence. It is survival disguised as normalcy. When saving feels like removing something from an already full plate, resistance builds naturally. Without realizing it, money becomes the place where stress negotiates. And negotiation almost always favors the present over the future. You are not failing because you lack restraint. You are spending because modern life demands emotional regulation, and money is the fastest tool available. Until that pressure is acknowledged, saving will always feel like deprivation instead of progress. And even if you manage to resist that pull, another obstacle waits quietly: fatigue. Your 30s are full, not just busy, but mentally crowded. Decisions stack up all day long: work, relationships, health, planning, responsibility. The energy required to monitor every dollar simply is not there anymore. This is where many people quietly give up. They assume saving requires discipline they no longer have. They conclude they are bad with money. But the truth is simpler. Systems that rely on constant attention collapse under real life. Once you see that, the entire problem reframes itself. The issue is not income. It is not habits. It is timing. Money becomes hardest to protect when it sits long enough to feel available. The first shift that changes everything is removing that window entirely. When savings move out of your account the same day income arrives, the dynamic flips. Spending no longer negotiates with intention. It adapts to reality. The money that disappears immediately never gets the chance to feel tempting. This seems small, but it is powerful. You stop asking whether to save because the decision has already been made. The system moves first. Life adjusts afterward. Over time, progress happens without friction because nothing is being resisted. At first, this shift can feel uncomfortable. Watching money leave immediately may trigger unease, even fear. But that reaction fades faster than expected. The brain recalibrates. What remains begins to feel like the true balance. Decisions simplify. Second-guessing fades. Over time, something subtle changes. You stop choosing between enjoyment and responsibility. Life reshapes itself around the new reality. Saving no longer feels like loss. It feels like money that was never meant to be touched. The same adjustment happens when saving grows alongside income. Each increase feels insignificant in isolation, barely noticeable. But stacked over years, the difference becomes undeniable. Not because of sacrifice, but because growth was never allowed to inflate expectations. And when systems stay simple, they survive real life. Busy weeks do not derail them. Stress does not dismantle them. Fatigue does not override them. Progress continues even when attention drifts. But many people stop here and wonder why growth still feels slow. The reason is simple: income evolves. Saving habits often do not. Momentum accelerates when saving is directly tied to income changes, raises, side income, unexpected gains. Each one should trigger an automatic increase the moment it appears.